I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. This time on Guitars and Gear, we are joined by bluesman Tommy Castro. Tommy, thanks for coming in, man.
Hey, it's nice to be here, man.
Appreciate you being here.
It's quite a setup you guys have here. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's really something.
We just had lunch, you know. I went by and stopped at the barber shop, and
that's a whole
Randy played a
right?
round of you know, on the putting green out there, and so
right, yeah,
it's quite a thing you got going.
Yeah, lots of nice amenities and things here. It's kind of become a destination for musicians.
Yeah, and we bought a bunch of stuff too.
Well, that's nice.
We're on the road and we break things, and
right.
It was good. It was good timing.
Right. So you've had a long and distinguished career, starting out in the Bay Area in the '60s and '70s, correct?
Well, man, that wasn't, I wouldn't call the '60s and the '70s a career at all. That was just me just having fun playing music with my friends, I would think. I mean, I've been playing since I was, you know, about 10 years old, and I started jamming with, you know, kids my age, probably when I was a teenager, and then, you know, I just always played for fun, and I was doing all kinds of other things, trying to make a living out there. But I always had a band, and I was always in a band, and I was always, you know, having fun with my friends. And eventually, those I started getting more gigs, and I think when I really, you know, became a professional musician was you know, probably in the middle '80s, I got a gig with a top 40 band, and you know, I thought it was cool because there was the thing that was popular in top 40 at the time was funk. There was a lot of cool stuff that I liked, you know, AWB and the Commodores, and James Brown was you know, had hit records and stuff, and people were dancing in nightclubs to that kind of music, and so it was in a kind of a funk band, and quickly that music started to phase out, and disco came in, and all kinds of other really, you know, undesirable stuff started to be popular, and I had to quit doing that. And then you know, I at some point I've always been a blues guy. I mean, ever since when I very first started playing guitar, I was listening to Michael Bloomfield and Johnny Winter, you know, and Taj Mahal, and sort of the '60s players, and then I kept digging, you know, a little deeper and finding, you know, Muddy Waters and B.B. King and Buddy Guy and stuff like that, and that became sort of my regular diet for years. So when I started playing, I was always a blues player, and this, you know, I got this gig in the 80s doing this top 40 music for a while, just because you could get a job doing it.
Sure. Yeah, right. You got to make a living.
But I was always a blues player, you know, and so lo and behold, a little club opened up in my hometown, started to have blues every night of the week, and I got hired on as the jam session leader of the jam session band. We created a band just to host the jam sessions, you know, and it got to meet a lot of people, and eventually I you know, joined a couple of local blues bands and went up to San Francisco and moved out of my hometown of San Jose and started to get a little bit more serious about, you know, making a career of playing music, because I figured out along the way that this is what I was meant to do. And so that's kind of where it really started, was when I made that decision to take a shot at this. I mean, I was starting to get enough gigs locally to almost make ends meet.
Right.
So I moved to San Francisco and bought a battery-powered amplifier, which turned out it used to belong to Carlos Santana for some strange reason.
How about that?
I looked at the bottom of it, it said Santana.
Right.
Whatever. That was interesting. They battery-powered mouse amps. Remember those things? Because I figured, to make ends meet, I was going to have to go out on the street and become a street musician, and because in San Francisco there's a lot of people making money doing that on this. You know, I didn't realize I was going to totally suck at it. I wouldn't make much money at all. But I thought I might need to do that, so I bought the battery-powered amps. I went out on the street and tried, you know, between gigs, you know, making all of that work out, and well, just a little while, I got a job with a band called the Dynatones. And they took me, you know, we went on the road, and I was with those guys for a couple of years. Great blue-eyed soul band, and were originally Charlie Musselwhite's backup band.
Right. Yeah.
And then they went on to make records of their own on Warner Brothers and stuff like that. I joined the band, which is where I met Randy Mike McDonald, who's been with me for the last 25 years, my bass player and road manager.
Right.
So that's that's how it kind of. So where my career may have started, it's kind of vague.
Somewhere along there.
Somewhere along the
right,
line.
Right. Now you also had, well, first of all, it had to be an incredible time to come up in the Bay Area because you could go to a concert and see a folk act and a blues act and a rock act, and they were all kind of, there was so much kind of coalescing in that region as far as music was concerned, and varied musical styles that were all accepted.
It was a great place.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like that everywhere. I didn't know that we were so lucky until I look back now.
Right.
But yeah, everybody came to town, and of course a lot of folks made their home there, and we would see, well, I just thought it was interesting that the San Francisco Bay Area groups had this great combination of blues and soul music, which is, if you think about what I do now, it's really, that's I think where it comes from. It's because there's bands like Cold Blood and Tower of Power and Stone Ground and Elvin Bishop Group, and you'd see Electric Flag was there, and all those guys incorporated blues and soul music, and that, I just loved that sound, always did.
Right. Right.
And it was a great time. But I was able to, people ask me how I became a blues musician a lot. They're like, why did you choose the blues? I mean, I don't believe I chose the blues. I just, that is what appealed to me. And so that's what I did. And because at the same time there was psychedelic music going on, and I didn't care for that very much, there was folk music, and I liked folk music, but that really wasn't my thing, unless I heard somebody like, Taj Mahal doing it, or Fred McDowell,
right.
or Muddy Waters doing folk music, and I was like, well, that I like.
That's a little different twist on it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
so you followed your passion to the blues.
Basically, that's how it came about.
Right. Now you were with the Dynatones, but you also in the mid '80s were the house band for a TV show.
Right, so I started, after a couple of years with the Dynatones, I went, I'm really having a fun time out here, got a great education, it was my first real, touring band outside of the Bay Area, and I decided that it was, here I was the guitar player for the Dynatones. In my previous band, I was the singer. And I thought, I want to be in a band where I'm the guitar player and the singer. So I'll start my own band and we'll see what happens. And so then we started what we called the Tommy Castro Band in those days, and we just played, we just racked up a bunch of gigs in the Bay Area where we kind of played every night, and there was a huge blues craze going on at the time. We were able to work every night without ever leaving the Bay Area. We could just run around, we had a gig somewhere every night, about 30 times a month, something like that. And that's what started this group. And so we put out an album on Blind Pig Records, and shortly after the release of that, somebody from HBO called us and said that they were going to be doing this comedy show, and they wanted us to be the house band. And they told me, one of the funniest things I ever heard in this business yet was, they said, well, we don't really have a budget for to be paying royalties on anybody's music, so you can't play anybody's songs on the show. I go, that's no problem. I have songs. They go, no, well, you can't play your own songs either.
Well, that makes it kind of tough, doesn't it?
I said, what does that leave? Wait a minute. So we struck a deal. I said, listen, let me play my songs, and you don't have to pay me. How about that? I'll sign something, but let me at least play my songs. And it was all instrumental anyway, but it did help us in the early days, because some people, liked the sound of the band, and they found out, they heard us coming through town, and come out and see us.
Yeah, nice promotional vehicle.
But it was a lot of fun, that gig.
I bet.
My job, besides playing, doing this bump music for the comics, was laughing.
Okay.
Which I love to do.
Sure.
And I remember hearing the producer sometimes going, he started saying like, go to the band, go to the band. I'd hear him in my ear, you know, because they're looking for people who are laughing in the audience. Right. When they didn't get any laughs in the audience, I'd probably be laughing. So I was a good laugher.
You were the laugh
That's
track
how I got
it.
that. That's how I kept that gig.
Yeah,
we did
right.
it 3 seasons in a row. I think we got it because they liked our music, and then we kept it because I was a good laugher.
There you go. And
I'm a good
talents,
crowd
right?
too.
Yeah. Now, since then, many albums, 14 albums or more, right?
Boy, you know, I'm not exactly sure. I have to count them up, but it's somewhere between 12 and 14.
Yeah,
I would think,
somewhere
depending on
around
which
there, right.
ones you count.
Right.
The
And
first thing that we did was Live at the Saloon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually on an album with 2 other guys, Kevin Russell and Johnny Nitro before that. So if you count that, or if you don't count that, it might be 12 or 14 albums.
Okay. And tons of awards. Lots of BMA awards, B.B. King Entertainer of the Year awards, Album of the Year awards. You had 4 awards in 1 year, correct, from the Blues Music Association?
Yeah, the last studio album that we released, yeah, we did, was amazed by all of that. Of course, you know, I remember we got nominated for 4 awards, which is the most that, you know, since I've been doing it. Been doing it a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I put out quite a few albums that we didn't get nominated for a thing
Sure.
for a long time, you know, and so I didn't take it personal. I just kind of, well, you know, there's a lot of good talent out there. There's a lot of great records come out, and I didn't get in, and it just, you know, went on like that for a while. So when I finally got nominated for a couple of awards, it was on our Soul Shaker album, and I think I was nominated but didn't win. And then the next time out, we did Painkiller, and on Painkiller, I had a couple nominations and got 2, you know, that time around. So, and one of those was B.B. King Entertainer of the Year. So when we put out Hard Believer a couple years later, now on Alligator Records, we had 4 nominations, and the last thing I expected to win was another B.B. King Entertainer of the Year, because I already got one, and I know they don't give that out too easily. And so that really was honestly a big surprise to me. Of course, you're honored to be even thought of, you know, with all the great blues musicians that are on the scene these days. There's so much great talent out there. It's actually a very good time for what we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very diverse. It's very eclectic. There's so many different flavors and sounds and styles and approaches to the blues, and it's all acceptable.
Right.
You know, you're going to have your hardcore sort of traditional blues folks out there that will tell you that only certain things are blues, and most of the people are open-minded these days. And
but you've been a big part of driving that with the legendary Rhythm and Blues reviews and the legendary Rhythm and Blues cruises, because it's bringing together a lot of different acts and jamming together with people and putting them into different situations and things. I think helps to expand awareness of all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that has had a lot to do with it, because the Blues Cruise is something, if you're a blues fan, is something you can't not be aware of. You're going to know about it. And with the internet and YouTube and Facebook and all of this social networking going on, there's, you know, what happens on the Blues Cruise is all over the internet, and everybody who's a fan of the blues, you know, checks it out.
Sure.
And one of the great things about that is it's like a really well done festival, where they really put a lot of thought into who's going to be on that show. Except for it goes on all week long, and different sort of associations, you know, start to crop up, and different sort of you know, people get ideas from being on the cruise because of watching all the other acts and listening to all the other acts. And you know, young acts that are doing something different, and the legendary, you know, people that you listen to, you know, it's Etta James or Mavis Staples or Bobby Bland, or, you know, and you're thinking, man, that's why they're who they are.
Sure.
You know, I'm so glad I got to sit here and witness it, and where I can relax, you know, just walk into the showroom, sit down, and really, you know, listen and not be. And when you go to a show, sometimes it's, you know, it's a lot of work getting yourself out of the house and making arrangements and parking and going and coming and all that stuff. And then you hope that one shot that you get to see that artist is going to be a good show and everything's going to be going well for them, especially, older blues artists and stuff.
Right.
Now, the cruise, you're going to get 4 or 5 shots at seeing them that week. And so you get to really take in a lot. And I think that has opened the minds of a lot of, diehard blues fans that have become, regular cruisers, or at least aware of what's going on there. And then, of course, like you mentioned, the Blues Review, I started that because I had such a great time hanging out with the other players and jamming that I didn't want it to happen once a year. I said, there's got to be a way we could do this on land. Why not do it on land?
Sure.
So I asked some of my friends to join me on a little review-style tour where my band backs everybody up. And we took out, in the first time out, we had Magic Dick from Jay Giles' band and Ronnie Baker Brooks, the legendary Lonnie Brooks' son. Ronnie's an amazing talent, man, and learned a lot from hanging around watching Ronnie Brooks. I mean, my playing changed, and I think I felt, inspired to up my skills a little bit from hanging out or listening to Ronnie night after night.
Right, nice.
Basically kicking my ass every night is what was going on. As much as I love him, we're like brothers. I said, man, you got to get to woodshedding, young man. And so that kind of thing really turned out to be a great experience for everybody. And it was some fun gigs. We all just piled on our funky old bus, and we had a lot of laughs along the way and stuff. And over since that happened, and the original lineup also had Deanna Bogart, an amazing talent, keyboards and saxophone, songwriter, and she's the most courageous musician I know. She'll try anything on stage.
Wow.
She'll push you into doing stuff that you don't want to try on stage. And she just doesn't care. She'll try anything. And it all makes for great jam sessions,
Right.
Great train wrecks occasionally, but you also have great.
But that's the danger, right?
That's the danger.
Yeah, that's the fun too.
And people like watching those jam sessions for the same reason they like watching cliff diving. Not for the perfect dive, just the possibility of disaster is always there. Oh, they escaped disaster again. Did you see that?
Right.
Or how are they doing that? I've watched people jam together, seen them just walk on stage together, and then sing in perfect harmony. Like one time it was Shamika Copeland and Curtis Salgado, and Mike Finnegan was playing keyboards up there, and they were playing an O.V. Wright song, an obscure O.V. Wright song, that a few people, not everybody knows this song. It's not like, other more well-known blues songs. If you're a fan of greasy soul music, you would know it probably. But anyway, they get up there and sang that song, and it sounded like the best damn live show you ever heard.
Right.
And they didn't even know they were going to do it.
Wow.
It just fell together in such a, and the fact that it was, the musicians are as it's going so well, everybody's got that feeling like, wow, this is really special. And it even becomes more exciting because they realize what they're in the middle of doing, It doesn't always happen like that, but those are also the other possibility, besides train wrecks, is awesomeness.
Right. The two ends of the spectrum. Right. So tell us about the guitar you're holding here.
Well, I've always liked these guitars. Only owned one for a couple of years now, but I was a big Johnny Winter fan,
Sure.
And I also liked the Gatemouth Brown, and there was a cat named John Cipollina, Bay Area guitar, great, and a lot of really good guitar players played these, and I always admired them. But for whatever reason, when I was younger, I had a Les Paul, and then I traded it for a Strat, and I became a Strat guy for like forever, And I got a '66 Strat from my good friend who's passed away recently, Johnny Nitro. It's like one of the great Bay Area bluesmen, sort of a granddaddy of the blues in San Francisco scene, and a really great guy. Inspired a lot of young kids to play, and so I kind of got married to that guitar. I got the '66 Strat from him, and I just played that all the time.
Right.
But long story short, I started to feel like I wanted to do some more things with my sound. Maybe I didn't expect I was going to be around for so long. I don't know. But I had a tone. It was my Strat into a '65 Super Reverb with no effects, and that was what my sound was for a long time. I just turned it up to about 9 or 10.
Right.
I would have it on 9 like that was going to make a difference, and every now and then I would just go...
Just that little bit extra, right?
Make it a little bit louder, a little bit dirtier, but I'm just going to 10 tonight.
Right.
Anyway, that was my sound for so long, and I started to finally, after several records, I went, I can't just keep doing it. I can't just keep doing this one tone anymore. I'm going to have to do something else, and I started to want to do something else. And what would I play if I didn't play a Strat? What would I play? And this was the first thing that came to mind.
Right. Right.
Because it's it's sort of like with the mini humbuckers, it's kind of like halfway to Gibson land.
Right.
It's not the big the regular humbuckers are a little bit, well, you know what they sound like.
Sure, a little thicker sounding, a little.
They sound great. There's many different characteristics, and different guitars have different sounding humbuckers on them. But the mini humbucker is just a little bit closer to sort of the brighter thing that the Strat does.
Yeah. Right. So this is very similar to the guitar that you play. The same finish.
Yeah, it's exactly the same guitar, except for I don't have these cool tuners on.
Right. Yeah, those are.
You see these? I like this idea. I just tried them out for the first time, and it works great because it seems like you could be a little more accurate. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
I have to get them now. See?
Yeah. There you go. You're at the right place.
That's why you guys are doing so well. You realize that?
That must be it. So let me ask you this: as a player, blues predominantly based around the pentatonic scale, the blues scale. We've all got the same 5 notes. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you come up with your own style and your own sound within that framework?
Well, it's like I said, I've just been influenced by all different kinds of music, so I just, I attribute my style to a certain amount of laziness or lack of discipline, because I'd set out to start to play, like Albert King, I'd like to learn what Albert King's doing, but I just couldn't, like some guys will study that until they got it down cold. I never would go that far. I just get the idea of it, and then I would, I'd do something else, and so I would just, so when I play, I just play by ear, basically what I want to hear. I was talking to Debbie Davies one time, and I was asking her, I was so amazed with Albert Collins, such a unique style of playing.
Right.
I says, did he ever tell you how he came up? How did it happen? You think it's going to be some sort of story about like an accident happened. His guitar was broken, and he had to patch it up. And so when he started playing it, he had that tuning. I don't know. I was expecting to hear some kind of reason behind the Albert style, and she said, no, he knew what he was up against out there, and to be a great blues guitar player, he knew he was going to have to be different, and he just worked at it, and he developed that style and his way of playing, his way of phrasing, the way of everything that he did. He was intentional, and I'm just that's why he's great. That's what makes him great.
What's the 2 different approaches, though?
Yeah, there's different approaches. There's so many great guitar players out there. I just don't even try to compete with the world of guitar playing. I just I'm more of interested in expressing myself, getting my songs across. I write these songs. I have a sound in mind, the way I want my band to sound, and I have and I play guitar to accompany myself, in this effort to try to put out good music.
Right.
And it comes from, stylistically, it comes mostly from blues and soul music and just sort of roots rock and roll.
Right, cool. Very awesome.
But my ears are always open, I'm listening, to cats like Gary Clark Jr. and the Black Keys and Jack White, and I'm listening to newer versions of blues players and newer generations of players and listening to what they do. Like Derek Trucks, I think is one of the all-time great guitar players that ever lived. And he's just a kid still.
Right.
Well, compared to me, anyway.
Be interesting to see where he goes, though, with all that. So, Tommy, thanks so much for coming in. New single on Alligator, Greedy.
Yes.
It just came out. New album on the way.
The single's actually out on vinyl, It's out on...
nice.
It's out on clear green vinyl, high-quality vinyl, special edition, like nice packaging, and
nice.
It comes with a download code and all of that. And we're having a lot of fun with that. People are really buying them. It was kind of an experiment, really, and just something cool that I wanted to do. I just thought it would be nice, because I used to buy 45s when I was a kid, and I just thought there's a resurgence in vinyl. Now's the time, if I'm ever going to put out a vinyl, before this goes away, I'm going to do a 45.
Right. Yeah,
and I wasn't sure what the response would be, but people are buying them like crazy, and I take it out at the show, and I show them under the lights, the clear green vinyl record, to everybody. Every single time the crowd gets a round of applause.
Nice.
Just by looking at it. Take it home and play it. I hope you still like it.
That's great. Congratulations on all your success on the new record.
Thank you.
Again, appreciate you being here.
All right, man.
Be sure to catch Tommy. He's on tour, out supporting the album and the single, and lots of great stuff, lots of great music. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining me for Sweetwater's Guitars and Gear. Be sure to tune in next time. We'll have more guitars, amps, effects, and we'll be making lots of music. I'm Mitch Gallagher.